The call came on a Tuesday morning while I was reviewing acquisition reports in my downtown office. Isabella Martinez, one of the city's most prestigious wedding planners, sounded genuinely apologetic. "Ms. Victoria, I'm so sorry to inform you, but your family has requested to remove your name from all wedding arrangements. The flower arrangements, seating charts, photography list, everything. I've never had to make a call like this before." I leaned back in my leather chair, looking out at the city skyline that included 3 buildings I owned. "Perfect, Isabella. Thank you for letting me know." There was a pause. "Miss Victoria, you seem remarkably calm about this. Most people would be devastated." I smiled, glancing at the property deed on my desk. The deed to Grandview Manor, the exclusive venue where my sister Emma was planning her dream wedding in 3 weeks. "Don't worry about me, Isabella. I'll be just fine." What Isabella didn't know, what my family didn't know, was that I wasn't just Victoria Matthews, the quiet daughter who worked some boring office job. I was Victoria Matthews, CEO of Pinnacle Holdings, owner of a $2.8 billion real estate empire that included half the luxury venues in the state, including Grandview Manor. The family dynamics had been crystal clear since childhood. Emma was the golden child, beautiful, charming, engaged to a successful lawyer named David. She'd graduated from business school and immediately joined Dad's consulting firm, where she was being groomed to take over eventually. I was the disappointment. The one who wasted my MBA by declining Dad's job offer. The one who chose to work for some small property management company instead of joining the family business. The one who lived in a modest apartment and drove a 5-year-old Honda while Emma lived in a penthouse and drove a brand new BMW. What they didn't know was that my small property management company was actually my own empire, built quietly over the past 8 years. While they focused on Emma's achievements, I'd been acquiring properties, building wealth, and establishing myself as one of the most successful real estate moguls in the region. My phone buzzed with a text from my mother. "Victoria, we've decided Emma's wedding should be about celebrating her success, not dealing with family drama. It's better if you don't attend. You understand." I typed back, "Of course, Mom. I want Emma to have her perfect day." She responded immediately, "Thank you for being mature about this. Emma was worried you'd cause a scene." "Cause a scene?" I almost laughed. I hadn't caused a scene in years. Not when they forgot to invite me to Dad's birthday dinner. Not when they excluded me from the family vacation photos. Not when Emma announced her engagement at what was supposed to be my promotion celebration dinner, completely overshadowing my news. I'd learned long ago that sometimes the most powerful response is silence. My journey to success hadn't been accidental. After graduating with my MBA, I'd deliberately taken a junior position at Henderson Property Group, not because I couldn't do better, but because I wanted to learn the real estate business from the ground up. While my family mocked my entry-level job, I was studying every aspect of property acquisition, management, and development. I worked 16-hour days, saved every penny, and identified undervalued properties throughout the region. My first acquisition was a small apartment complex that the owners were desperate to sell. I put down every dollar I had and took on massive debt, but the cash flow was immediate. Within 6 months, I'd improved the property, raised rents, and doubled its value. That became my pattern. Find distressed properties, improve them dramatically, and either flip them for massive profits or hold them for steady cash flow. While my family thought I was struggling to pay rent, I was reinvesting every dollar into expanding my portfolio. By year 3, I owned 12 properties. By year 5, I'd incorporated Pinnacle Holdings and owned 47 properties across 3 states. By last year, my portfolio included luxury hotels, commercial buildings, and exclusive event venues, including Grandview Manor, which I'd purchased 18 months ago when the previous owners faced bankruptcy. Emma had announced her engagement 8 months ago with typical fanfare. The entire family gathered for a celebration dinner where she showed off her 3-carat ring and immediately began discussing her dream wedding. "I absolutely must have Grandview Manor," she declared. "It's the most exclusive venue in the state. Only the most successful families can afford it." Dad had beamed with pride. "Nothing's too good for my daughter. If Grandview Manor is what you want, that's what you'll have." Emma had looked directly at me. Of course, not everyone could appreciate a venue like that. It's really for people who understand luxury and success. I'd smiled and nodded. "It sounds perfect for you, Emma." What I didn't mention was that I'd been sitting in meetings about Grandview Manor's renovation budget the week before. The venue they considered impossibly exclusive was one of my smaller investments. Over the following months, I watched Emma plan her elaborate wedding. She hired Isabella Martinez, whose client list included celebrities and politicians. She ordered flowers that cost more than most people's cars. She selected a photographer whose wedding packages started at $15,000. And through it all, I said nothing about owning the venue where all of this would take place. The decision to exclude me hadn't happened overnight. It had been a gradual process, orchestrated primarily by Emma with my parents' full support. It started with small comments. "Victoria's been so negative lately. Victoria might feel uncomfortable around all of David's successful friends. Victoria probably can't afford appropriate wedding attire anyway." Then came the practical exclusions. My name disappeared from the engagement party invite list. "We thought you'd be too busy with work." I wasn't included in the bridal shower planning. "We didn't want to burden you with expenses." I wasn't asked to be in the wedding party. "Emma wants her closest friends and you two haven't been that close lately." The final straw came 3 weeks before the wedding. Emma had called me directly. "Victoria, I need to talk to you about something delicate," she'd said in her most condescending tone. "David and I have been thinking and we feel like your presence at the wedding might create tension. You know how you get when you're around successful people, kind of bitter and resentful." "I don't think I get bitter and resentful," I'd replied calmly. "See, you're getting defensive right now. Look, we've decided it's better if you don't come. We'll send you photos afterward. Whatever makes you happy, Emma. I knew you'd understand. This is why we made this decision. You're just not in the same place in life as the rest of us." That conversation had been 2 weeks ago. Yesterday, Isabella's call had confirmed that they'd gone beyond just excluding me. They'd actively removed all traces of my existence from the wedding entirely. After Isabella's call, I spent the afternoon reviewing my current holdings. Pinnacle Holdings now owns 63 properties worth a combined $2.8 billion. The portfolio included 12 luxury hotels across 4 states, 27 high-end residential complexes, 15 commercial office buildings, 9 exclusive event venues. Grandview Manor was actually one of my smaller holdings worth about $12 million. But it was particularly special because of its exclusivity. The venue only hosted about 20 weddings per year, with booking fees starting at $50,000 just for the space. Emma's wedding was costing Dad approximately $180,000 total, with $75,000 going directly to my venue. I picked up my phone and called Marcus Rivera, my head of operations. "Marcus, I need you to pull the contract for the Matthews wedding at Grandview Manor. Emma Matthews, scheduled for 3 weeks from Saturday." "Right away, Ms. Victoria. Is there a problem with the booking?" "Not exactly. I just want to review the terms and conditions very carefully." The Grandview Manor booking contract was comprehensive, as all my venue contracts were. It included standard clauses about cancellation policies, damage deposits, and behavioral expectations for guests. But it also included a clause I'd specifically requested be added to all my venue contracts. The venue reserves the right to cancel any booking for any reason with 72 hours notice, with full refund of all deposits. I'd added that clause specifically to protect my properties from problematic clients. I'd used it twice before. Once when we discovered a client was planning to use the venue for an illegal gambling operation, and once when a client became abusive to our staff. I'd never used it for personal reasons. But I'd also never been deliberately excluded from a family wedding at my own venue. I read through the contract 3 more times, then made a decision. I called Isabella Martinez at 4 p.m. that same Tuesday. "Isabella, this is Victoria Matthews. We spoke this morning about my removal from Emma's wedding." "Oh yes. Again, I'm so sorry about that awkward situation." "No need to apologize. I'm actually calling about something else. I need to inform you that Grandview Manor will need to cancel the Matthews wedding booking." There was a long pause. "I'm sorry, what? Cancel?" "But the wedding is in 3 weeks. The deposits are non-refundable according to the contract. Actually, if you review Section 12 of the contract, you'll see that the venue reserves the right to cancel with 72 hours notice and full refund. I'm providing 3 weeks notice." But why? What's the reason for cancellation?" I smiled. "Let's call it a scheduling conflict." "Ms. Matthews, I don't understand. Grandview Manor is the most exclusive venue in the state. They don't just cancel weddings. Who am I supposed to contact about this? Who's your manager?" Isabella, you're speaking to the owner. Another long pause. The owner of what? Grandview Manor. I own the venue. The silence stretched for almost 30 seconds. Miss Victoria, you own Grandview Manor? I own Grandview Manor, along with 8 other exclusive venues in the state. Pinnacle Holdings is my company. But your family said you work in property management. I do. I manage $2.8 billion worth of properties. My properties. Isabella's voice was barely a whisper. Oh my God. Isabella, to her credit, was a professional. She didn't gossip or spread rumors. But she did have an obligation to her clients to find solutions to problems. Which meant she had to call Emma. I was in a board meeting when my personal phone started buzzing with calls from Emma, then Mom, then Dad. I let them all go to voicemail. The first voicemail was from Emma and her voice was shaking. Victoria, call me back immediately. There's been some horrible mistake with the venue. The second was from Mom. Victoria, honey, Isabella Martinez called with some confusion about Grandview Manor. Please call us back so we can sort this out. The third was from Dad and his tone was already shifting. Victoria, we need to talk about this venue situation. Call me back. By the fourth call, Emma was crying. Victoria, please, I don't understand what's happening. Isabella says you own Grandview Manor? That can't be right. Please call me back. The fifth call was Mom again. Victoria, if this is some kind of joke, it's not funny. Emma is hysterical. The sixth was Dad and now he sounded desperate. Victoria, whatever this is about, we can work it out. Let's have dinner tonight and discuss this like adults. I finished my board meeting where we approved the acquisition of 2 more commercial properties, then finally called Emma back. Victoria. Emma answered on the first ring. Thank God. Tell me Isabella made a mistake. Tell me you don't actually own Grandview Manor. I own Grandview Manor, Emma. Silence. But how? You work for some little property company. You live in that tiny apartment. You drive that old car. I own Pinnacle Holdings. It's not little. The apartment is in a building I own. I live there because it's convenient, not because I can't afford better. And the car is reliable. Pinnacle Holdings? Her voice cracked. That huge company that owns half the luxury properties downtown? About 63 properties currently, worth approximately $2.8 billion. More silence. But why didn't you tell us? When would I have told you? During one of the family dinners I wasn't invited to? During the engagement party you didn't include me in? Or maybe during the bridal shower you decided I couldn't afford to attend? Victoria, we didn't, we thought. You thought I was a failure. You thought I was bitter and resentful. You thought my presence would embarrass you in front of David's successful friends. That's not. We didn't know. Emma, you literally told me I'm not in the same place in life as the rest of you. He was crying now. But Victoria, it's my wedding. You can't cancel my wedding venue. You're my sister. Am I? Because Isabella called me today to tell me that my name has been removed from everything. Flowers, seating photos. Everything. It sounds like you've already decided I'm not your sister. Within 2 hours my parents were at my office. Dad had used his connections to find out where Pinnacle Holdings was located, and they'd come straight from Emma's apartment. My assistant buzzed me. Ms. Matthews, there are 2 people here claiming to be your parents. They don't have an appointment but they seem quite upset. Send them in, please. Dad walked in first, followed by Mom. Both looked stunned by my corner office with its panoramic city views. Victoria, Dad said, we need to talk. Of course. Please, sit down. They sat in the chairs across from my desk, looking small and uncertain in a way I'd never seen before. Is it true? Mom asked quietly. Do you really own all of this? I own this building, yes. Along with quite a few others. Dad leaned forward. Victoria, why didn't you tell us? We had no idea you were so successful.
When did you ever ask? In 8 years, has anyone in this family ever asked me about my work beyond dismissing it as some boring office job? But you never said. I never said what? That I was building a business empire? Dad, you offered me a job at your consulting firm, and when I declined, you told me I was making the biggest mistake of my life. You said I'd regret not taking advantage of family connections. He had the grace to look embarrassed. Victoria, Mom said, we made mistakes. We should have paid more attention to what you were doing. But you have to understand, from our perspective, you seem to be struggling. I seemed to be struggling because I was working 100-hour weeks building something. Because I was living below my means so I could reinvest everything. Because I chose substance over appearance. But Emma's wedding. Mom's voice trailed off. What about it? You can't really cancel it. Not 3 weeks before. The deposits alone are fully refundable according to the contract terms. Dad finally asked the question that was really bothering him. Why are you doing this, Victoria? I looked at both of them. These people who had raised me, supported Emma's every dream, and systematically excluded me from their lives for years. I'm doing this because Emma specifically told me that I'm not in the same place in life as the rest of you. She said my presence would create tension because I get bitter and resentful around successful people. She decided I was too much of a failure to attend her wedding. She didn't mean. She absolutely meant it. And you both supported that decision. None of you thought to ask how I felt about being excluded from my own sister's wedding. You just accepted that I wasn't worthy of being there. Mom was crying now. Victoria, we're so sorry. We didn't realize. You didn't realize that excluding your daughter from a family wedding might hurt her feelings? Really? Dad cleared his throat. What do you want, Victoria? I want Emma to have her perfect day. The one where she's surrounded only by successful people, where she doesn't have to worry about her bitter, resentful sister embarrassing her. You're being sarcastic. I'm being honest. Emma made it very clear that she wants a wedding that celebrates success. Well, I'm giving her exactly that. By canceling the venue? By removing the unsuccessful family member from the equation. Isn't that what she wanted? Mom leaned forward. Victoria, what would it take for you to reconsider? I thought about it. What did I actually want? An apology? A public acknowledgement of their treatment? For them to beg? What I wanted was simpler and more complicated than that. I want to matter, I said finally. I want to be included in this family as more than an afterthought. I want Emma to acknowledge that she deliberately excluded me and that it was wrong. And I want all of you to understand that success isn't just about appearances, it's about building something real. Done, Dad said immediately. Whatever you want. It's not up to you, Dad. It's up to Emma. She's the one who made this decision. Emma arrived at my office an hour later, looking like she'd been crying for hours. She sat in the same chair Dad had occupied and looked around at my office with new eyes. I had no idea, she said quietly. All this time I thought. You thought I was a failure. I thought you were lost. Like you didn't know what you wanted to do with your life. I knew exactly what I wanted to do. I just did it quietly. She wiped her eyes. Victoria, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I was horrible to you. Yes, you were. I don't know why I said those things. I guess I was so focused on making sure everyone saw my success that I couldn't see anyone else's. Including mine. Especially yours. And that's the worst part, isn't it? You were more successful than any of us, and I was treating you like a charity case. I waited. Victoria, will you please come to my wedding? Not as my sister who I'm embarrassed of, but as my sister who I'm proud of? Who I should have been proud of all along. Emma. And will you please not cancel the venue? I know I don't deserve it, but I'm asking anyway. I looked at her sitting there, finally seeing me clearly for the first time in years. The venue was never really canceled, I said. I just wanted you to understand what it felt like to have something important taken away from you. Her eyes widened. You didn't actually cancel it? I called Isabella back an hour after our first conversation and told her it was a miscommunication. The wedding is still on. Emma started crying again, but this time with relief. Thank you. Thank you so much. But I have conditions. She nodded eagerly. Anything. First, you're going to call Isabella and tell her to put my name back on everything. Flowers, seating, photos. Everything. Already done. I called her before I came here. Second, you're going to make a toast at your wedding acknowledging that you misjudged me and that you're proud to have me as your sister. Of course. And third, we're going to have regular family dinners from now on. Real ones, where we actually talk to each other about our lives. Yes. Absolutely yes. 3 weeks later, I stood in the bridal suite at Grandview Manor, helping Emma with her dress. The venue looked spectacular, Isabella had outdone herself with the decorations, and the spring weather was perfect. Victoria, Emma said as I fastened her necklace, I still can't believe you own this place. I own a lot of places, but this one's special to me now. Why? Because it's where my sister learned to see me. The wedding was beautiful. Emma looked radiant, David was clearly besotted, and the venue provided the perfect backdrop for their celebration. During dinner, Emma stood to make her toast. Before I thank everyone for being here, she said, I need to acknowledge someone very important. My sister Victoria taught me that success isn't about what people can see, it's about what you build when no one is watching. Victoria, I'm sorry it took me so long to realize how amazing you are, and I'm proud to be your sister. The guests applauded, not understanding the full context but recognizing the emotion in Emma's voice. Later, as the reception wound down, Dad found me on the terrace overlooking the gardens. Victoria, I owe you an apology too. Dad. No, let me say this. I spent so many years focused on Emma's achievements that I never bothered to notice yours. And when you declined my job offer, I took it personally instead of respecting your independence. I know you were trying to help. I was trying to control. There's a difference. He looked out at the gardens, which were illuminated with thousands of twinkling lights. This place is incredible, by the way. You've built something remarkable. Thank you. Not just the business. This whole evening. You could have destroyed Emma's wedding to prove a point, but instead you used it to bring our family back together. 6 months later, we were having our monthly family dinner, this time at the Penthouse restaurant in one of my downtown hotels. It had become our tradition. One Sunday a month, we all gathered to catch up on our lives. Emma had become genuinely interested in my business, asking thoughtful questions about property development and investment strategies. She'd even started looking into real estate investments for herself and David. Mom and Dad had made an effort to understand what I did, visiting several of my properties and meeting with my management team. Dad had admitted that my business model was more sophisticated than his consulting firm. Victoria, Emma said over dessert, I have news. Good news or bad news? Good news. David and I are thinking about buying our first investment property. And we were hoping you might advise us. I smiled. I'd be happy to help. There's more. We want to name our first daughter Victoria. I felt tears prick my eyes. Emma. We want her to grow up knowing that success comes in many forms, and that the quiet ones are often the ones changing the world. As I looked around the table at my family, really looked at them, the way they were finally looking at me, I realized that sometimes the best revenge isn't revenge at all. Sometimes it's just being yourself, quietly and successfully, until the people who matter finally notice. And sometimes, if you're very lucky, they learn to see you before it's too late.